Hi there, it's Henry from Investment for Expats. Now, I'm going to go over an international SIPPs in 2026, what you need to look out for, the pros and cons, and if you should or shouldn't look to transfer one. So what is an international SIPP? So basically it's the same as a normal SIPPs in the UK. The only difference is that it's for expats and it's held in a platform normally in the Isle of Man or Jersey. But for most intensive purposes, it's the same. There is some differences where you can hold different currencies and funds in US dollars or euros or Swiss francs, for example. But other than that, it takes the same laws and legislation as a normal SIPPs. So should you transfer your SIPPs into an international SIPPs if you have moved abroad? Now, this is going to be very general, and if you do want specific advice, go speak to a qualified advisor. But normally, if you are looking for cheaper platforms, I do think they are a bit cheaper in the UK these days. They are quite competitive in the offshore market now. But just to give you a price difference, normally what you'd be paying in the UK, 0.2, 0.3%, probably 0.4, so 0.2 to 0.4. In the offshore market, you'd be paying around, for the TRs, 0.4 to 0.6. The platforms themselves, they're all very much similar. So in the UK, you have the likes of Vanguard, AJ Bell, Interactive Investors, etc. Offshore, and it's some of the main platforms that would use only on Morningstar and Novia. I think they're two of the best platforms. Their costs are a bit higher than the platforms in the UK, but not too much. It's very similar, 0.3, 0.35%. You do have an added trust cost. Now, this would cost £200 on it. So the costs are very similar to what you would get back in the UK. So when I would look personally at transferring is if you have moved abroad and you do have multiple pots, you can have some consolidation and you do want it in different currencies maybe. If you have moved to the EU, this can be an option for you. If you are looking for pure cost effectiveness and it's in one pot, normally, generally speaking, it would be better just to leave it in the UK. If you're still actively managing, your provider can still let you operate if you have moved abroad. So some of the red flags and platforms to use. Now, we've gone over the platforms in the offshore space. I think if you are using platforms, particularly stick to Morningstar and Novia. They're FCA regulated. They're very clean funding, etc., and you know what you're paying. On that, I would stay away from red flags if you're moving it into an offshore bond. So if someone's moving it into such products, such an offshore bond, the pension has no need to go into an offshore bond. It's already a tax wrapper. So if you're moving it into a platform such as RL360 or Quilter under very extreme circumstances, unless under very, very extreme circumstances it's used at the base cost with over $500,000, where it effectively becomes a platform, more or less, you have no real need to go into those. So they're red flags. If you're paying anything more than 0.4% for the platform, again, red flags. For that, if the advisor's saying, especially offshore, if they're not doing it for any costs or it's free, again, it's red flags. I haven't met anyone that works for free yet on that. So stick to platforms like Morningstar, Novia. Make sure it's a clear fee guideline of you know how much you're paying for the platform, the fund costs, where it's going in. Is it's not going in kind of DFMs that are highly charged. It's mainly you want to be sticking to low cost ETFs, maybe a few active funds. Make sure the platform, again, is FCA regulated. The advisor, make sure they're level 4 regulated, preferably with some experience offshore if you are getting them transferred offshore, and make sure they have kind of local knowledge on where you're living as well. So in conclusion, I do think if you have moved abroad and you do have multiple pensions in different pots, maybe worth looking at. But at the same time, there is an additional need. Advisors will often say, oh, you shouldn't look at moving your pension. For a lot of people, I say maybe it's worth just keeping it in the UK, especially if you're paying low cost and it's already and you're already actively managing it.